Hello everyone, good evening. You're welcome to day 14 of our Writers Summit. Our topic for today is effective journalism that pays. Please you bear with us because the facilitator is having a bit of network challenges. She will join us shortly. Her name is Lillian Paul. She's a human resource manager at the Justice Development and Peace Caritas Commission in Jos. She's also a professional development worker with a bachelor's and a master's degree in mass communication from University of Jos, Nigeria. She's currently in a master's program on development studies at the Institute of Development Studies, University of Nairobi, Kenya. She's a leadership development and skincare coach, and her personal mantra is "I am because we are." So she'll be joining us shortly. Thank you all for participating in today's program. We really appreciate your presence today. Thank you. Hello, Lillian. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, Agatha.
You're
Sorry
welcome
for
to.
the inconvenience the delay may have caused.
Okay,
Had
that's
some
fine.
technical issues here.
Okay, thank you. Hope everything has been resolved now.
Sorry?
So I hope it has been resolved now.
Yes.
Okay, thank God. Good evening, everyone. Once again, we have with us Lillian Cole. Like we said earlier, she's a human resource manager at Justice Development and Peace Caritas Commission in Just. She's a professional development worker with a bachelor's and a master's degree in mass communication from University of Just, Nigeria. And she's currently in a master's program on development studies at the Institute of Development Studies, University of Nairobi, Kenya. She's also a leadership development and skincare coach, and her personal mantra is "I am because we are." So, Lillian, you're welcome once again. We have been expecting you to, give us and teach us on effective journalism that pays. And are you still with us?
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please
Am
go
I
ahead.
audible?
Yes, you're
Am I
audible.
audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Um, Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me on the model for this evening. I'm sincerely sorry for the delay. It's as a result of some technical hitches I experienced earlier, but thank God that has been resolved. This evening we'll be looking at um, journalism that pays, like creating wealth through journalism, effective journalism that pays. I'm sure we all know about this saying that the pen is mightier than the sword. And sometimes you begin to think, how can it be? But this evening we'll have the opportunity to understand why it is often said that the pen is mightier than the sword. This session is going to be divided into 4 different parts. First of all, we'll be looking at the concept of journalism. Then we'll also look at who a journalist is. Then we'll also look at the different types of journalists. And lastly, how um, journalists, how you can create wealth through journalism practice. Um, as a concept, journalism is a profession that has to do with writing for newspapers, for magazines, for websites. It could also be about preparing news to be broadcast on through different mediums like the television. And today we also have what we call the social media, which has become very popular among people, particularly among young people. When we talk about looking at the concept of journalism, we have to like check the meaning to understand what journalism really is. And we have to understand what journalism really is and how um, journalists go about their daily activities. The word journalism is originated from the word journal. And if we know very well, a journal is like taking record of daily activities. But here, as a profession, you do it in a different manner, not like the way we usually um, keep track of what we do in our diaries, for instance. So for the types of journalism or journalists rather, we have number one, the first one I'd like to talk about is the correspondent. And basically a correspondent is someone who is working in a media organization. Of course, journalists work in media organizations. A correspondent is someone who works with a media organization and is attached to a particular beat. A beat is like area of specialty where the person focuses on a particular area or a particular issue. It could be on education, it could be on politics, it could be on legislative matters or whatever, based on how the person has been designated by his or her organization to go about the work. So a person who is attached to a particular beat is a correspondent to that beat. And that is why sometimes you hear something like a correspondent to the government house. It means that the person is supposed to be in the government house to take care of, to cover events, happenings around the government house and reports thereafter. Then the second type of journalist I would like us to look at is the citizen journalist. The citizen journalist is concerned about covering news or reports about civic and social responsibilities. And we have a lot of freelancers around that area. And a lot of times they may not even be trained. I forgot to say earlier that a journalist has to be trained, and the minimum requirement to be part of the National Union of Journalism in Nigeria is a diploma certificate, because it is a very noble profession that people have to understand the ethics that guides such a profession. Even though today we find a lot of people going into journalism because they have free access to the social media and they can afford to do whatever they want to do at any time. So yeah, when we talk about citizen journalism, journalists or citizen journalism, we're talking about people that are concerned about correcting social ills in the society. They are concerned about reporting to the citizen. They're not bothered about whose or is God at the end of the day. Their main responsibility is to the citizens of the particular society they're operating under. The third type of journalists or journalism we'll also look at is the editor. The editor is someone who is responsible for checking all kinds of reports being brought by the reporter before it is being aired or being broadcast by the media organization. Then we also have the editorial writers. Editorial writers are often found in the print media, where they write on specific topics. Maybe for instance, they will look at the, let's say in Nigeria, for instance, they will look around what is the very common issue that is bothering people. So they look around, and after looking around, they research on this and they write upon it about it with the intent of bringing such issue to the front burner by making the public understand, get a lot of facts about the particular issue of discourse. A media organization can decide to write, an editorial writer can decide to write on, let's say, the Boko Haram issue, or issue on bandits. And it means the person will research properly about the different aspects of how that affects the society and puts it down in the paper. Every print copy has an editorial, and it is written, of course, by editorial writer. The next one I would like us to look at is the columnist. The columnist is someone who writes about a particular category of people, and it is expected that as a columnist, mostly in the print media, it is expected that a columnist researches about the particular category of people or issue he or she is writing on, and bring something about it on a weekly basis, or on in each publication that the media organization is supposed to publish. We also have the photojournalists. The photojournalists are people who report based on pictures. They are not concerned about write-ups. They are concerned about getting good pictures. And if one has to go into photojournalism, the person must be very creative to be able to think of how to get the best pictures. They said it is said that a good photojournalist should be able to produce a picture that speaks even without captions. I remember there was a time a photojournalist who went for a coverage in Somalia during one of the humanitarian crises. And for this particular journalist, he saw he saw a child who was almost dying, and there was a vulture beside the child, and he felt at that point that this is going to be a very good shot. And in fact, it made that particular picture made him very, very famous, that he even got an award. But it had its consequence because he was just interested in getting the picture. And why I'm saying this, it's because a photojournalist is not really concerned about words, but what can my picture communicate? What can this picture change? What can this picture do when people see or view it? Then the last one is the reporter. The reporter is someone who has to be at the site of the happening to report on whatever he or she is covering at any given time. And of course, for all this that I have listed, the piece written by the journalist has to go through an editor who vets whatever has been written to ensure that it represents the philosophy of the media organization before it goes out to the public, because media organizations, like every other organizations, have their reputation to protect. And that is why we find a lot of people preferring to do some of these things, to do some of these things on their own as freelancers, so that they will not be suppressed in any way. Now, this takes us to the next aspect, which is types of journalism. Of course, there are different types of journalism, and the first one I would like us to look at is the investigative type of journalism. Because if you intend to make money, you have to understand, okay, in what area would I be better off? In what area, what are the areas that I have passion, or rather I'm more passionate about, and what do I even intend to achieve. So it is very important you understand the different types of journalism practice to go into if you really want to create wealth from it. And the first type of journalism I would like us to look at this evening is the investigative type of journalism. This type of journalism deals objectively towards uncovering hidden truth and to bring out the facts about the issue, a person, a topic. Yes, of course, it has to be of interest, not just to the journalist, but of interest to the general public, because it will be of no use if you're able to cover a news story or write a very good piece without having people patronize you or people read what you have written. So whatever a journalist is going to write has to be of public interest. And we find a lot of investigative journalists these days because of the kind of ills we have in the society. Investigative journalism is the hardest core of journalism practice, basically, because it has to do with taking a lot of risk. And we have people who are into this type of journalism going through a lot, because a lot of times they may have to even disguise themselves to be able to get the kind of reports they are looking for. But what I want us to know is that it is basically about uncovering the hidden truth. It is not the normal kind of journalism, the everyday kind of journalism that people just go to the street and write and pick whatever they want to and write about. For an investigative journalist to be able to come up with one news story, sometimes it takes a whole year, sometimes even more, depending on the kind of issue they are looking at and what they intend to uncover. But they are basically interested in uncovering the truth and making it public. Then we have the political journalism. Political journalism deals with covering of news around politics, and it is also another serious type of journalism. And it can be broken down into three. Like we have the international politics, the national politics, and the local politics. For the international politics, the journalists will be interested in covering political issues on the global scene. For instance, you're in Nigeria as a political journalist that is interested in international politics. You don't deal with issues in Nigeria, but you deal with issues of events happening in places outside Nigeria to be able to place yourself on the international scene. Then the national politics kind of journalism deals with issues, national issues, that is issues within the a particular territorial jurisdiction. For instance, a Nigerian national political journalist will be only interested in covering political issues in Nigeria. Then when we talk about local, just as the word, it's about the journalism, the kind of journalism that focuses on covering local news, what is happening on the local scene that will be of public interest. So the person, in this type of journalism, the person, the journalist focuses on such issues and brings them to the front burner for people to discuss or people to be aware of what is happening within them. The third type of journalism is the criminal journalism. And a criminal journalist researches about criminal events for media outlets like the newspaper, a TV station, a radio station, whatever kind of media organization it could be that the person is working under. But the person just focuses on criminal activities. For instance, with the jailbreak of yesterday in Jos, it will be the interest of a criminal journalist to go in and begin to research about why um, why the prison break, what happened, who were involved. Those are the kind of things that the journalists will be interested in to bring out the gray areas around what actually happened. So basically, in criminal journalism, the the journalist is interested in only criminal activities, and you find such journalists working very closely with security outfits within the area of jurisdiction they are covering, so that they'll be able to get facts about criminal reports and be able to bring them to the public for general discourse and to make people aware of what is happening within the area. Then we also have what we call the business journalism, and this kind of journalism allows for free flow of communication between businesses or companies, and they help in building a healthy economy for a country or the area of jurisdiction that they are covering at that point. And because of this communication, the economy remains highly interlinked. And this kind of journalism could be between two business partners or uh, or two business companies. And again, in business journalism, the journalist is also very, very interested about issues around the foreign exchange, the GDP of the country, and all that. And the intent is to bring the facts about different kinds of businesses that even people could engage in. And sometimes people who follow those kind of news follow them to know where they should invest more and where they should not invest more. So like for investors, they depend a lot on business journalists to be able to know where they should pull their resources into or out of at any given time, so they don't suffer losses. So you see, for these four types of journalism, you discover that if you decide on your own to go into any of it, to specialize in any of it, you will definitely be able to make impact, because they're all big areas that people are interested in every day, and people always look forward to having fresh facts, fresh news, fresh reports about it, to be able to do whatever they want to do at different points of their lives. Then another type of journalism I would like us to look at this evening are the soft, um, uh, um, the different kinds of news I'd like us to look into that journalists are concerned about and can help one to even create wealth into from uh, uh, the soft news and the hard news. A journalist who is interested in, and this is particularly for freelancers, people who are not working with any media organization and they want to really create wealth for themselves. We have the soft news and the hard news. When you're dealing with soft news, um, you cover issues that are not really serious but are of interest to people. And there could be issues around celebrities, around sports, around culture. And if you're able to build a career within this area, you'll be able to also create wealth. And in arts journalism, which is under the soft news type, you find people who love artworks. They look for them and make news out of them. And because there are a lot of people that are interested in these artworks, they will definitely patronize this kind of news. And under this type of journalism, we have news about music, about movies, about literature, about painting, drama, poetry, and a lot of others. Anything around the arts that will interest people, you will definitely find people patronizing that. Why? Because there are people who are sports lovers, there are people who are movie lovers. They would like to know what's the latest movie in town, which cinema in town is going to be premiering a particular kind of movie rather, and which club is leading in a particular league and all those kind of things. So um, it is an area that people should consider. People who want to really make money in journalism should consider. That's the area of arts. Then when we talk about celebrity, we all know what is happening. For instance, remember during the what do they call it, big brother show, you know how much people were interested in following the daily activities. And going on YouTube, you find a lot of YouTubers making news out of the happenings inside the house as they follow up on the 90 days show. So at the end of the day, you discover that they get more patronage even than following online, because a lot of people might not have the time, the luxury of time to follow the proceedings of every day. But for a journalist who is interested in reporting about celebrities, the journalist can follow this and summarize the news and analyze the news, and you find people really patronizing. Sometimes if I see, if I follow those things on YouTube and you see the kind of comments, you could just imagine how much money the YouTuber is making by creating such content for people to be able um, to benefit from at the end of the day. Then we also have people that are very, very interested in who is the best actor, how much is the best Nigerian artists earning and all those things. So it is the responsibility of one who is interested in arts to find out all those kind of information. There are people that are readily available and always interested in getting in getting one or two things from such news. Then the education journalism is also another kind of soft news, and of course, it focuses on educational issues. It could be around scholarship, about challenges of students, about access to education, and the challenges around education, because education is a very important part of every society that contributes greatly in national development. So it is also a very viable area that people can venture into and um, make a lot of money from it. Then the most interesting one, sports journalism. Sometimes if you see the way people, football fans, talk about or analyze activities of every team, you'll be wowed. So imagine that you have the ability to do all this analysis very well. You'll be able to get a lot of patronage from sports lovers across the world, or even within your local domain. So it is a very viable area that people who are interested in creating wealth in journalism should look into. Then the last type of soft news journalism is the lifestyle journalism. And when we talk about lifestyle, it could be um, lifestyle based um, on health, based on cars, based on clothes, based on the latest hairstyles and all that. So it is left for the person who is picking interest in such an area to do good research around the area and bring whatever he or she finds interesting to the general public to get their patronage. Then um, we also have what we call journalism based on medium of delivery. Journalism based on the medium of delivery um, could be based on whether the person is interested in TV, in radio, in newspaper, or magazine. So it is left for the journalist to decide. I know um, when I was in school, in I always had interest in the broadcast media. So for all my internship and trainings, I I was attached to a broadcast media organization, and that was what I eventually went into even during my youth service. But somehow, the situation in the country, it happened that I also have passion for development activities, for humanitarian activities, and I found myself in an NGO, and here I am. So what I'm trying to do at the moment is to um, specialize my communication expertise in the development field to see how development issues can be brought to the front burner, and how um, people's lives can be impacted on in a very positive manner. Then today we also have a lot of news online. A lot of news online, yes. In fact, for traditional news media organizations that do not have social media presence, they will be losing a lot. Why? Because, okay, just ask yourself, when was the last time you read a hard copy newspaper? Everybody, everybody is online at the moment, especially with the changes that the pandemic has brought in our world, into our world today. Everybody is online. So if you want to read news, you get a lot of news online. In fact, it gives you the opportunity to um, read different versions from different media organizations conveniently and be able to make your own analysis by yourself. Presently, I'm in Nairobi, but I have access to Vanguard, Guardian, and the rest of them, and I'm very, very updated in everything that is happening in Nigeria and even Plateau State, where I come from. This has been necessitated by the very convenient mode of delivery of news online. Then we also have um, the internet, the no, sorry, websites. There are a lot of organizations that are doing a lot of things that may not have the resources, or instead of pumping resources into media organizations to make their activities known, they create their websites or blogs to share information about the activities they are running. So if you just go online, you'll know about what this particular organization is doing. It is also a way of sharing information. Then for the prints, of course, it deals basically with newspapers, with magazines, and the likes. Then when we talk about broadcast, of course, we're talking about TV and radio journalism. So that is it basically about the different types of um, journalism. And this takes us to the last aspect of this particular model. How can you effectively create wealth through journalism? That's talking about effective journalism that pays. There are different ways that one can create wealth through journalism. And the first one is through reviewing films, products, music, and more. I remember back then I did a course on critical review, and in that course, you're given the opportunity to learn how to critique journalistic work or any kind of work to be able to review. I remember I sat for an exams and I was asked to think of any Nigerian movie and critique it. And you know, when you're critiquing something, um, you bring out the negative and the positive sides, and you balance it with your own perspective of the whole thing you have checked. And at the end of the day, what you get is a review. So if you want to make money through journalism, you can pick any kind of work of art. It could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be a music, whatever it is. It could even be a work of art. It could even be a photo. You review it. You look at, okay, what is wrong with this? How can it be? How can it be better? Sorry. How can it be better? When you review it, you give people you help people to be able to make decision in terms of choosing what to patronize. For instance, you go online today, if you want to purchase anything, you find different kinds of reviews. Why? Because people have purchased this thing, and they are able to say one or two things about it. So when you do reviews, you can sell these reviews by putting them online on or looking for ways of packaging it and selling it to the general public. It will put some money into your wallet. Then the second way of making money through journalism is by writing articles. Yes, people write articles for money. And if you want to write good articles, you write articles based on what you're very passionate about. You write about it and you sell it. You could sell it to a media organization or package it and sell it by yourself, not necessarily going through the media organizations. I know there are organizations that um, may not have the resources to put to employ a lot of workers, so they depend on articles written by freelancers. So when freelancers write, they sell to them, and that is to help them enrich the content of what they want to present to the general public. So if you're able to do that, you'll be able to make money. And there are a lot of interesting issues out there that one can actually write on that will pick the interest of the public and make people patronize search. Then the third one is by selling your revision notes. Yes, it's selling revision notes. It's similar to writing reviews, but in this sense, it could be in the context of a classroom. You know, there are people who are not really good with reading bulky materials or may not be good in taking notes during classes. So as a student, you could make notes based on your lectures or based on what you have read and sell it to interested persons around you, and that will give you some money into your account. Then the fourth way you can create wealth is through um, entering into writing competitions to win cash prizes. Yes, a lot of monies are being won by people in different parts of the world, and particularly in the West. It may not really be a common thing in the sub-Sahara, but in the developed societies, we find a lot of people like winning a lot of cash prizes and other kind of awards through entering into competitions like writing competitions, review competitions, and all that. So if you know you're good, you are creative, you are sensitive to issues, you could leverage on this and um, make a lot of money for yourself. Then the fifth way of making money through journalism is through writing translations. Yes, there are people that are blessed with the ability to learn more than two, three languages. So if you're able to, you can get pieces of works, translate them, and sell them to the general public. In doing that, you'll be able to get some money for yourself. And I think that is the reason why a lot of people are, are, are interested in learning other languages. In fact, if you have the ability, there are people that are so gifted that they can conveniently speak 10 languages at the same time, if those kind of people leverage on this kind of opportunity, they will be able to make a lot of money. Then the sixth one is monetizing your blog. You know, it's it's funny when I see people writing very beautiful pieces, for instance, on Facebook or Instagram. You're writing and people are reading it for free. Mark is busy making his money out there. Before now, I didn't really know until when I did a course a couple of months back that I realized that I'm giving people free things to ponder on. If you have a blog, even if there's a paragraph and you're able to publicize your blog, people will, you'll be having a lot of traffic because people will be going into your blog to read about what you have written. I know even on Facebook, I have identified a couple of people that each time I'm online, I pay particular attention to what they have written. Why? Because they write very well and they write on interesting issues. So if you have the ability to write well, to write on interesting issues, why should you just allow it to go like that when you can actually make a lot of money from that? If you have not thought or considered this before, please think about it. When you write good content, even if you don't have a blog, by listening to me this moment, you can decide to create your own blog and put whatever write-ups you have in there, publicize it, market what you have, and people will go into your blog to pick one or two things. And before you know it, you become um, you'll be making millions of naira. Why? Because you are generating a lot of traffic into your blog based on the kind of content you're dishing out to the public. Then the seventh way of making money through journalism is writing social media content. Yes, when you write for when you write social media content for, let's say, organizations or for yourself, because you're good in what you do, you will definitely get paid. And people who do this a lot of times as affiliate marketers. They may not really be selling the particular products the organization is selling, but they'll be helping the organization sell and get commission on that basis. It's another lucrative way of making money through journalism. And in that regard, again, you can, one who is interested in creating content for social media can do this for websites of organizations or companies and get paid based on commissions or signed agreements and contracts. The bottom line is that nothing goes for nothing, because at one point or the other we are promoting one thing or the other. So why don't you look for ways of promoting these things and making money at the same time out of them? Then you can make money as a journalist being a copywriter. As a copywriter, you write basically about a particular product produced by a company, selling the readers the benefits they stand to gain by using or patronizing such products or service. For a copywriter, you don't write based on what you want to write as a person, but based on what the organization wants you to write about the products or services they offer. And especially now that people's attention have gone basically online, um, a lot of organizations or companies are leveraging on copywriters. So imagine that you're able to build your skills and put yourself together. You get one of these companies, you could be writing for them on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, and getting paid. So you just find yourself like smiling to the bank every now and then because you are helping a company or an organization to promote their brand, to promote what they are offering to the public. Then another way of creating wealth through journalism is through writing a book. I met a journalist recently here in Nairobi. I think I've gotten up to like 5 of her books, and all her books are about her personal experiences at one point or the other. She's a journalist, but also a self publisher. And when I saw this woman, I was like, wow, imagine this woman, some of the books she writes because of her other commitments. Some of the books she writes, she finishes them in 2 years. It's not something she does haphazardly. She takes her time to do it, but you are sure of getting something very useful from the content she's dishing out. She doesn't even need to research much because it is based on her personal experience. So from time to time, she might just ask 1 or 2 people to share their views about the specific things she's writing on, so that she'll just be able to spice whatever she's dishing out to the public a bit, and she's making a hell of money. In fact, every now and then she uses the Facebook and Instagram ads to promote the books she sells, and you don't see her packaging a piece or two. She could just say she's doing a giveaway or um, giving a discount if you're buying 3 copies at the same time. So let's say, for instance, if she's selling each copy at 1,000 shillings, and she decides at some point to say, okay, if you're buying 3 copies, I will sell it between this time and this time at 2,000 shillings. A lot of people will leverage on that. Why? Because they want to save the 1,000 shillings they have. Meanwhile, she's generating a whole of traffic and her building a lot of sales through a very high turnover, because that is what she will eventually record after giving such discounts or giveaways. So if you consider um, building wealth through journalism by creating books, it's a sure way of becoming a millionaire. There's no 2 ways about it. In fact, if you're able to imagine that you're able to self-publish through Amazon and your book is out there, it means that people all over the world can have access to your book. And if you look at the loyalty plan you are picking from Amazon, just imagine how much, even if it is a single dollar that you're getting from each copy of the book you are selling, eventually you discover that you're making a hell of money. I was reading about a millionaire in Lagos recently. He was telling people that he was being interviewed, and he said, if you want to make wealth, don't go into Bet Niger, don't go into there was something he also mentioned. He said, check out Amazon. And he made a lot of sense. So imagine just putting down your experiences and making a book out of it, putting it out there for the public to buy, you will definitely make a lot of money. And I wonder why people will keep saying there are no jobs, because they're waiting for a federal or state government job. Well, we have a lot of things online that we can actually um, um, build on if we decide to develop ourselves in those specific areas. I don't know, but our African mentality. Then another way of making money as a journalist is making money as a technical writer. And in fact, lately, a lot of people are going into this, writing about very, very technical things and putting them out there. If you're able to do this, you could sell on your own, you could sell to companies that are dealing with the area you're focusing on. As far as you're able to simplify the technicalities involved in whatever you are writing at that moment, you will surely get patronage from people. Then the last one is writing, making money as a ghostwriter. Who is a ghostwriter? A ghostwriter is someone who writes and sells the work. Like, if I'm writing, if I write a piece, I can sell it to Agatha. Agatha buys it, and um, I lose ownership of what I have written. Why? Because I have sold the property. Yes, it is my intellectual property, but I'm selling it to her, and I don't have the right to own it again. So people will not even know that it is Lillian who has written this, because it eventually carry the name of Agatha. And people who do ghostwriting write memos for for big personalities in the society. I remember after our training, one of us at that point was telling me that um, someone approached her that she wants her to write her memo to mark her 60th birthday. And I don't know how they concluded, but imagine she was able to hit it big by doing a very good negotiation around that. All you need to do is ask the person who is contracting you to tell you what he or she wants to have projected in the piece you're writing. And a lot of times, again, for writers, the buyers of their intellectual properties are not even um, ready to dish out any kind of information, but they might just be interested in the particular piece written by the ghostwriter, and they can be very willing to pay whatever kind of amounts at the end of the day to have that piece carry their name, especially for people who crave to become very famous, politicians, and the likes of them. Especially in Africa. No, I don't even think that Africans love fame like the Europeans. Like, if you go to the West, the developed societies, you find people doing all sorts of things just because they want to become famous. So if I imagine yourself in such kind of a society, and you're able to, like, build a long-term career in ghostwriting, you'll be able to make a lot of money. So if you have listened to me from the start to the finish, and you were like initially lost on, okay, journalism, how do I make money out of journalism? A lot of people prefer professions like medicine, law, engineering, and the rest of them, because they feel they can make quick money through those professions more than journalism. It's a lie. And I think, well, these people are not to be blamed because the society has made it so. Like, I remember, I don't know the situation now, but I remember back then, the for scholarship, you find other departments given peanuts, but for students in law and medicine, the kind of bursary they get is different. It's always higher. In fact, it is easier for people in the field of medicine to get scholarship abroad than any other kind of field. But I'm very happy to have had this opportunity to share with you that you can actually become a millionaire, in fact, a trillionaire if you want to, through journalism. You just look at all the things I have said from the start of this presentation and reflect, okay, um, where, what can I go into? What am I passionate about? And how do I go about it? And let me tell you, you will not regret taking the decision of building your wealth through journalism. I'll be available for any kind of consultation at any time. I'll find a way of sharing my contacts so that if you need some kind of coaching or guidance, I'll be able to put you through to be able to um, build a better future for yourself. The truth is that the jobs are not available. The federal or state government cannot employ everybody because they don't have the resources to. And even the economic situation in the country, it's making privatization difficult because even entrepreneurs that want to grow, the environment is not conducive for them. So whatever you can lay your hands on, please don't joke with it. Don't joke with it. Just find a way of developing and sharpening your skills in those areas or in that particular area. Then um, you find yourself, you realize before time that you've been able to build a niche for yourself, and a lot of people will be looking up to you, and you'll be proud of yourself that you've eventually been able to create a job for yourself instead of waiting for the government or for your parents to do anything for you. There are a lot of prospects in journalism. I used to tell people that if you study mass communication and you end up being broke, it is because you want it. Why? Because the course is a very marketable course. Then, if you narrow it down to journalism with everything I have explained, you realize that the prospects are very, very high. You don't even need serious capital. You can begin with the little you have, build a brand, and before you know it, you would have been able to build a very big name for yourself. Thank you very much for having me this evening, and I'm glad to have shared all these things with you this evening. And thank you, Hip Hop Campus, for the opportunity to share from my wealth of knowledge and experience. Thank you, Agatha.
Hello, thank you so much, Lillian. That was a very beautiful lecture on effective journalism that pays. If you have questions, comments, please leave them in the comment section below so that our facilitator can.
Okay, there are questions.
They will start dropping questions now for you.
Okay, I cannot view the questions from here. Can you read them out for me?
Okay, so Amayo Francisca Eniye is saying thank you so much for your wonderful presentation, Lillian. It was audible and well explained in details. My questions: Please, what is the difference between a journalist and a blogger, a
A
correspondent and
journalist and a
a
what?
citizen? A journalist and a blogger, a correspondent and a citizen journalist.
Your volume is very, very low. I can hardly hear you.
She's asking what is the difference between a journalist and a blogger, a
A
correspondent.
journalist and a blogger.
Yes, then
Okay.
okay. You could just answer that first. It's a continuous question.
Okay. A journalist is someone who has been trained in that particular profession. But anybody can own a blog, even without any skills or training. The blogs are owned by people with different kinds of interests. So you must not necessarily be a journalist before you become a blogger, but um, for journalists who are into blogging, they tend to achieve more. Why? Because they have gotten the training and they know what they are doing. All they need to do is to get the skills for blogging. But for a blogger, you have to um, think of an area that you want to create a niche for yourself and specialize in that area. But because a journalist has already been trained on how to write, the journalist can even write on anything in his blog. So that's the basic difference.
Thank you very much. She's also asking what is the difference between a correspondent and a citizen journalist.
A citizen journalist
And a correspondent.
okay, a correspondent is one who is assigned a beat and has to be on the spot of the event or the happening to be able to report. And a correspondent is always a trained journalist, but a citizen journalist may not really be trained with journalistic skills, or rather in journalistic skills, but may have interests of journalism and is also very interested in seeing that the society is informed about civic responsibilities, civic social responsibilities, and all that. For a correspondent, the loyalty is with the media organization, while for the citizen journalist, the loyalty is with the public. The citizen journalist is only interested about the citizens, and most of the times they are freelancers and are involved in sensationalism, or what we call the yellow kind of journalism. So that's basically the difference.
Okay. Thank you so much. Um, Francisca is saying, thanks, Lillian, for your responses. I got it clearly. So she has understood your explanation. Please, is there any other questions or comments for the facilitator? Okay. I don't think we have anyone. So thank you so much, Lillian. Your teaching was well understood. Thank you very much. And please, just to inform everyone, it is important that we read through the announcement that scrolls just below the live camera so that we can know what we're talking about and further instructions to be given. Also, for tomorrow's session by 8:30 p.m., we'll be having Mata Ike. She'll be taking us on essay writing that works. This is actually one of the rescheduled lectures. And also for those who are not able to join the live session here on Facebook, feel free to always join on YouTube. If we have no comments or questions, thank you, Lillian, once again for your lecture. Really appreciate your time and your teaching.
Thank you very much for having me. If there are more questions, you should feel free to drop them on the platform.
Okay.
I will monitor that and respond to them accordingly. Thank you so much and have a pleasant night rest.
Thank you. You too,
Bye.
Lillian. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night. Thank you all once again, and that will be all for today. Same time tomorrow. Good night.